Hey guys, I am from Digging and today we are going to talk about the main thing in a real-time strategy game. So let's get started. Firstly, we are going to import resources. You can download it from the link given in the description. Now create a folder. Let's name it Materials. Open it and create a material. Select the shader type and search for alpha. You will see many options. Select the second one. Select the texture and click Tile 64 which is imported from the resources. Now you will see a rectangle box above the texture option. Click it and select all the coordinates to max, but select the last coordinate to 30. Now set the tiling x coordinate to 10 and y coordinate also to 10. Now create one more material. Go to the shader and search for alpha again. Select the second option again and select textures tile 64. Click the box again and set the max, select all the coordinates to max, but this time set the a coordinate to 0. And you don't have to change the tiling x or y coordinate. Now create one more material and this time go to the legacy shaders and select diffuse. Select texture and this time select ground. Now let's create a 3D object. Now create a plane. Change the material to grid. You can easily select the material grid by just changing the material to the material that we created first. You can see this looks like a grid. Awesome. Now let's duplicate this and change the material to the green material that we created. This looks like a ground, but we cannot see the grid. To see the grid, you have to simply click the material and you will see an option from shader. You need to click it and select transparent. Now you can see both the ground and the grid. Let's create one more 3D object, cube. Create a folder. Name it scripts. Now it's time for some coding. Create a script. Name it cube placement. Open it. Now we have to declare some variables. Create a public game object obj to move. This is going to act as a cursor. Now create one more game object. Let's name it object to place or obj to place. This is the object which is going to be instantiated whenever we click the left mouse button. Now create a layer mask. This is later going to be used for some raycasting. Now create a public float. Let's name it last pose y. Now create a public vector3 variable. Let's name it mouse pose. This is going to tell us the mouse position. Now create a public renderer. Let's name it rend. And create material matte grid matte default. This is going to give the reference of two materials. let me first correct some code. Now in the start we have to get the component of renderer. Rend is equals to game object dot get component renderer. Sorry. Now create two private variables. Renderer, name it rend, and one more private variable, material. Now create one private variable, renderer, name it rend. Now create a public material. Name it matte grid, and one more, matte default. Now in the start function we have to get the renderer component. So type rend is equals to game object dot find ground dot get component of renderer type. This is going to find the renderer of ground component. This is going to find the renderer component of the ground. Now in the update method write mouse pose is equals to input dot mouse position. This is basically going to tell us the mouse position. Now create a ray. Ray is equals to camera dot main dot screen point to ray, and put mouse pose in the bracket. Make sure that your camera is tagged as main camera. Now create a raycast hit. Name it hit. Now create a if statement. Physics dot raycast. This is going in the bracket write ray comma out hit comma math f dot infinity comma mask. And in this if statement create two variables, int pos x and int pos z. Int pos x is equals to int math f dot round hit dot point dot x. This is basically going to give us the round off input of mouse position. This is going to be used in our grid placement of our building. Similarly in this we are going to do the same. Now we have to make the position of our object to move to be the mouse cursor. To do that simply write object to move dot transform dot position is equals to new vector 3 pos x comma last pos y comma pos z. Save this script. Now go to Unity and add this script to the cube. Object to move. Drag the cube and place it in the object to move component and select the mask. Firstly, we have to create a layer. Add layer and ground. I have created this early. You have to create this one by simply writing the name of your layer. For example, I have named simple, but I have created that earlier, so I will not going to create a new layer. Now simply go to the plane, both of the plane, and tag the layer ground. Name the grid layer to ground. And the ground layer, which is green colored, name that to terrain. Set the position back. Make sure that they both have the same position. Now go to the cube and select the mask to ground. Now last pose should be the position of x coordinate of the cube. That is, for example, in my case it is 1, but it is in air. We want it to be on the ground. If we want it on the ground, the x component should be 0.5. So write last pause 0.5. Now let's hit play. We can see that whenever we move our mouse, the cube is following our mouse. Awesome. But wait, we can see something. The grid is not on the position of the cube. To make it right, go to the material of grid and select the offset 0.5 of x and 0.5 of y. Now hit play. Now it seems very good. Now open the Visual Studio. Now what we want is to instantiate whenever we click the left mouse button. Now for that, create a if statement. Input dot get mouse button down. This if statement means that whenever we click our left mouse button, then it is going to instantiate the object to place. We want to instantiate our object to place on the object to move position. And we want our rotation to be none, and for that you have to write quaternion dot identity. Now let's save this code and go to Unity. Now let's create one more cube. Create a prefab folder. Prefab. And now place the cube that we have created. And go delete this one. Go to the cube and select object to place. Drag the object cube prefab and select the object to place. Now let's play. You will see that whenever we press the left mouse button, it will instantiate the cube prefab. But we don't want that our object to move should not be left back when the object to place is instantiated. To do that, go back to Visual Studio and simply write destroy game object. Save this and go back to Unity to test. We can see that now whenever we press the left button, the object to place is instantiated and the object to move is destroyed. Now let's go to Visual Studio and we want our grid to be activated whenever we are moving the object. Whenever we are not moving the object, the grid should not be visible. To do that, simply go to if statement of input.getMouseButton 0 and under the destroy game object write rend.material is equals to mat default, and above that you will see one more if statement, if physics.raycast. Now write in this if statement write rend.material is equals to mat grid. Save it and check out Unity. And now we have to select the mat grid and mat default. Go to the materials folder and select the grid material to the grid type material and mat default to the material in which we set the A coordinate to 0. Now let's hit play. You can see that when we are moving the object, we can see the grid, but when we instantiated the object, we cannot see the grid. We also want that when we instantiated the object, we have to move the object whenever we drag it from the mouse, but is it not happening? To do that, simply create one more script. Name that drag and drop. Open it. Go to the queue placement script and copy the variables. Paste it in our drag and drop script. And go to the queue placement script again and copy the start function and paste it in our drag and drop script. We have to edit this code. Delete the object to move variable and in the update method again copy the update method from the queue placement, but do not copy the if statement of input.getMouseButton. Edit this script and delete the rent.material mat grid line. Now create one more variable boolean public bool is dragging. This bool will show that will tell us that is the object dragged or not. Now write a if statement of input dot get mouse button. This will tell this is the input when we are dragging the mouse and put the code in it. And then after this if statement write else and write is dragging is equals to false, and in the if statement of input dot get mouse button write dragging is equals to true. Now create one more if statement that whenever is dragging is equals to true, then rend dot material is equals to mat grid, and write else if is dragging is not equal to true, that is it is false, then rend dot material is equals to mat default. You have to do one more thing. Instead of object to move, you have to write object to place. Now let's save it and head back to Unity. And go to the prefab folder and select the cube. Add drag and drop script. In object to place, drag the prefab, and in the mask select ground and last pose 0.5 and mat grid width. In mat grid the material of mat, and mat default in the material that has no grid. Now let's check it out. You can see whenever we are dragging the object, the grid is visible, and whenever we are not, the grid is not visible. There is one more thing we have to do. Whenever we go to the edge, you can see that our object is floating half in the air. To fix that, simply we have to increase the size of the ground and the terrain both. We will increase the size by 0.1. And we have to go to the grid material and select and change the tiling x coordinate to 11 and y coordinate also to 11. Also change the offset x coordinate to 0 and y coordinate also to 0. Now let's play. Awesome, our script